Hello po, can we start? Okay. Share screen lang po ako ah. Tuloy lang. Slideshow. Teka, nawala yung isa ko. Can you see the... Dali lang po. Nawala yung isa kong... Ayan, nawala yung isa kong gadget. Mag-annotate kasi ako eh. Dali lang po mga anak. Pagpasensya niyo na po ang lolo. Ano ba nangyari? Three, five. Kamusta po exam kanina? Mga anak, kising na po ba kayo?
Mahirap po, Dok.
Okay, can you see the slide na? Wala pa po? Bakit? Okay, wait. Okay, here. Can you see the slide?
Yes po.
Okay, good morning. Okay, again, at any point during the lecture, if you have any questions, feel free to call my attention. Okay, kung medyo naglalag po, okay, or hindi magandang sound, paki-inform lang po ako ha. Okay, so let's start. So the topic for this week for micro A, okay, will be digestive system. And we're going to start the week with a lecture regarding the development of the digestive system. So this will be the objectives for this lecture. Okay, at the end of this lecture, you should be able to discuss the development of digestive system. And we're going to discuss the primitive gut and the derivatives parts. You have the foregut, midgut, and hindgut. And we're going to discuss also common congenital anomalies that you're going to encounter in the future, okay, as a result of abnormal development of the digestive system. So this will be the intended learning objectives for this lecture, okay? So we're going to start the topic with the formation of the primitive gut, okay? So what signals the start of development of parts of digestive system will be the formation of this structure. We call it as the primitive gut. And if you're asked what germ layer, the answer will be endotherm. coming from the endoderm. The primitive gut is formed from the incorporation of the dorsal part of the yolk sac into the embryo. Okay, I hope you still remember this fetal membrane, yolk sac. Okay, try to imagine these are your fetal membranes. Okay, so dorsal part of the yolk sac will be incorporated into the developing embryo to form the primitive gut. And the primitive gut will be divisible into three parts. Okay. Again, we keep on mentioning when we lecture embryology, you're going to see three colors. Three colors will be noticed. The blue represents ectotherm, the red one represents the developing mesotherm, and the yellow one represents the developing endotherm. So the germ layer to remember for this lecture is endotherm. So again, this is the yolk sac here coming from endotherm. The dorsal part will be incorporated into the embryo to form the primitive gut. So this will be the yolk sac again, which will be incorporated into the developing embryo to form the primitive gut. So this is your primitive gut here, which will be divisible now into three parts. We call it as foregut, midgut, and hindgut. Again, foregut, midgut, and hindgut. So this part will be foregut, this part will be midgut, and this part will be hindgut. Okay, clear po? Are we clear on this part?
Yes, po.
Okay, so we have a rule in anatomy and embryology. Okay, we're going to mention structures derived coming from foregut, midgut, and hindgut. And you're going to apply this in anatomy. Okay, what is the rule? If the digestive organ is classified as a foregut derivative, the blood supply will come from celiac trunk. If it is classified as a midgut derivative, the blood supply will come from superior mesenteric artery or SMA. If it is a hindgut derivative, the blood supply will come from inferior mesenteric artery or EMA. So again, we want you to remember that basic concepts that you're going to apply in anatomy. Again, foregut derivatives supplied by what blood vessel? Celiac trunk and branches of celiac. Midgut derivatives will be supplied by what blood vessel? Superior mesenteric artery and branches of superior mesenteric artery. While hindgut derivatives will be supplied by what blood vessel? Inferior mesenteric artery, or otherwise known as EMA. So at the end of this lecture, okay, you must be able to enumerate derivatives of foregut, midgut, and hindgut. So let's mention esophagus, stomach, duodenum, okay, proximal to the opening of the bile duct, the liver, the biliary apparatus, including the hepatic ducts, gallbladder, and bile duct, and pancreas are classified as foregut derivatives. So the blood supply will come from celiac artery and branches of celiac. So again, from esophagus down to the duodenum. Okay, first part of the duodenum, classified as foregut derivatives. Midgut derivatives, starting from duodenum, the second part of the duodenum, and then you have your remaining parts of the small intestine, jejunum, ileum, and then you have the large intestine, you have your cecum, appendix, ascending colon, and the right side of the transverse colon, classified as mid-gut derivatives. So the blood supply will come from superior mesenteric artery and branches of superior mesenteric artery. Okay? So from duodenum up to the right side of the transverse colon, classified as mid-gut derivatives. Hindgut derivatives. From the left side of the transverse colon, and then you have your descending colon, sigmoid colon, rectum, and to the superior part of the anal canal, classified as hindgut derivatives. So the blood supply will come from inferior mesenteric artery and branches of inferior mesenteric artery. So these structures are classified as hindgut derivatives. From the left side of the transverse colon down to the upper part of the anal canal, classified as hindgut derivatives. Okay? Again, so let's review the rule. Okay? So sulat natin para mas maintindihan natin. Esophagus, and then you have your stomach. Okay? After stomach, of course, you have your small intestine, you have your duodenum. Okay, duodenum anatomically is divisible into 4 parts. You're going to learn that in anatomy. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you have your remaining parts, jejunum, ileum, ileum. Okay, and then you have the large intestine, cecum, appendix, okay, ascending colon. After ascending colon, you have your transverse colon. The transverse colon is divisible into 2 sides, right side and left side. Okay, and then you have descending colon. After descending colon, you have your sigmoid, and then you have your rectum, and what is the last part of the digestive tract? You have the anus, anal canal. Okay, the anal canal is divisible into upper and lower. Ulit. So what structures are classified as foregut derivatives? So you have your esophagus, stomach, duodenum. Second part. Right? Tama. Including the pancreas and the biliary apparatus. Liver, diba? Bile duct, etc., etc. So the blood supply will come from cilia. So what structures are classified as midgut derivatives? So you start with duodenum also, second part, up to the right side of the transverse colon, classified as midgut derivatives. So the blood supply will come from superior mesenteric artery. Okay? What structures now are classified as hindgut derivatives? Right side of the transverse colon, left side of the transverse colon, up to the upper part of the anal canal. These are classified as hindgut derivatives, supplied by inferior mesenteric artery. So commonly asked in the board exam, what segment of digestive tract is classified as both foregut and midgut derivatives? What will be your answer?
Duodenum.
Duodenum. Very good. Okay? So you're going to learn that in anatomy. Bakit si duodenum may blood supply coming from celiac at may blood supply coming from superior mesenteric artery? Because it's a derivative both coming from foregut and midgut. Okay. Another question. Which part of the digestive tract is classified as both mid-gut and hindgut derivative? So the answer is transverse colon. Okay, the transverse colon will be both supplied by supramesenteric mesenteric artery and inferior mesenteric artery. So are we clear up to this part? Okay. Clear po? Clear tayo Okay, remember that the lower part of the anal canal, okay, is not a derivative coming from primitive gut. Okay? Pag primitive gut, what is the germ layer of origin?
Ended.
Okay, very good. Okay, you will notice that when you go to histology, yung lower part of anal canal is a derivative coming from proctodium. And this embryonic structure is a derivative coming from ectoderm. Ectoderm. So, hindi siya endoderm. So, magtataka kayo sa histology. The lining epithelium of the large intestine is a simple columnar epithelium up to the upper part of the anal canal. Pero pag lower part of anal canal, the lining epithelium will be stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. The reason behind that is again, the lower part of the anal canal is a derivative coming from ectoderm. Are we clear up to this part? Okay, very good. Clear po ulit. Foregut derivatives supplied by celiac. Midgut derivatives supplied by supramesenteric artery. And hindgut derivative supplied by inferior mesenteric artery. Okay? So the lower part of anal canal is not a derivative coming from the primitive gut because it's a derivative coming from proctodium. And proctodium is derived coming from ectoderm. Okay, so let's start with the development of the different parts of the digestive system. Okay, and we're going to mention common congenital anomalies associated with its development. Clear po tayo? So let's start with esophagus. The development of esophagus was already mentioned together with the development of the trachea. So last week, di ba? Minention natin. So again here, so this is the developing digestive system and this is the developing respiratory system. Di ba? We did mention last week, right? The ventral part of the primitive foregut will have a diverticulum. And that corresponds to your respiratory diverticulum. And you have also the development of this part of the digestive system that is your foregut. Foregut. Okay? So foregut initially is divisible into esophagus dorsally and trachea ventrally. And there will be a formation of tracheoesophageal folds or ridge. And these tracheoesophageal folds will fuse to form a septum. And the purpose of the septum is to separate the developing digestive, which is represented by esophagus, and the developing respiratory tract represented by the trachea. So again, I want you to tabulate, okay? So at the end, okay, so you can review, okay? I want you to make a tabulation. Let's start with esophagus, and then you're going to classify whether it's a derivative coming from, sulat nyo lang, foregut. And the third column, the congenital anomaly associated with esophagus and the etiology. Yun kasi yung tatanungin ko sa inyo eh. Okay? So again, esophagus. So what will be the clinical congenital anomalies associated with the development of esophagus? Okay. Esophagus is a tube, continuous tube, which is continuous with stomach. Imagine this is stomach. Huh? And this is the esophagus. Diba? Esophagus, continuous with stomach. So what are two common congenital anomalies associated with it? Okay, first term to remember for this lecture, atresia. Atresia. So whenever you encounter the term atresia, it means that a tube ending as a blind pouch. Okay, so let's imagine that. So normally this is esophagus, right? It's a continuous tube. So when you say esophageal atresia, part of esophagus will end as a blind tube, blind pouch. So this one is atresia. There's failure of recanalization. Okay? And we did mention that almost always, about 85% of tracheoesophageal fistula is associated with esophageal atresia. And this could result to polyhydramnios. I'm going to explain that later. Okay, what is the difference between stenosis? In stenosis, esophagus is a continuous tube, yes, but the lumen is narrowed. So whenever you encounter the term stenosis, it means there is narrowing of the lumen. Okay, so try to imagine that. So the lumen is narrowed. Clear po? Again, atresia means esophagus ending as a blind pouch, blind tube, while stenosis means there's narrowing of the lumen, usually involving the mid part. And the etiology is caused by hypertrophy of the submucosal or muscularis external layer, or there is an incomplete recanalization. Okay, esophageal atresia is almost always associated with polyhydramnios. Do you still remember this term, polyhydramnios? Poly means many. Hydramnios referring to the amount of amniotic fluid. So how would you suspect if you have a case of esophageal atresia? Okay, take note that during fetal life, fetus normally swallows amniotic fluid. Okay, in the event that you have an esophageal atresia, the fetus cannot swallow amniotic fluid. So what will happen? So the amniotic fluid will accumulate. Okay, so in the future, may magpapakonsulta sa inyo. Naku, may dumating na nanay, 3 months pa lang, 4 months pa lang. Diba? Parang ang laki-laki na ng tiyan niya. Tapos sabihin ng nanay, naku, baka twins po ito o triplets po pinagbubuntis ko kasi, di ba, dapat yung laki ng tiyan nyo, malalaman nyo ito sa OB, dapat yung laki ng tiyan nung kung buntis ka, yung laki ng tiyan mo is appropriate for the age of gestation ng bata. Tama? Hindi pwedeng sasabihin mo, dalawang buwang buntis ka pala, pero ang tiyan mo parang nakalulo ng 2 melon, ang laki-laki. Naku, inappropriate yun. Do you get what I mean, mga anak? Okay, so sa tingin nyo, ba't parang ang laki-laki ng tiyan ng nanay? 4 months pa lang pa siya. Nung kinumpute mo siya, 4 months pa lang siya, buntis. Pero yung tiyan niya parang pang-term na, parang manganganak na siya sa laki ng tiyan niya. So you suspect this clinical entity. So you do, okay, it's always advisable for you to do ultrasound. Huwag kayo masyado mag-rely lang sa ano ha, sa pregnancy test in the future ha. Sabi mo, ay pregnancy test, ay buntis ka na, sige, magkita na lang tayo after 9 months. Hindi ganun mga anak ha, hindi ganun ha. Okay, you have to confirm it. Okay? Mamaya, di ba? Mamaya, pinagbubuntis niya, ectopic pregnancy pala. O mamaya, ang pinagbubuntis niya, makikita mo yan, parang tubig yung laman ng tiyan ng nanay. So most likely you have is polyhydramnios. And most likely, if you have a case of polyhydramnios, mayroong congenital anomaly yung pinagbubuntis niya. And one of those congenital anomalies is polyhydramnios. Clear po? Okay. Newborns with esophageal atresia o pinanganak na yung baby. So how would you suspect if a baby is born with esophageal atresia? The first fluid or the first milk that you're going to give will be normal. But the subsequent fluid that you're going to give, what will happen? Okay, the fluid will accumulate in the mouth. The fluid will return to the nose and mouth, and respiratory distress will happen. So these are typical clinical presentations of a baby born with esophageal atresia associated with tracheoesophageal fistula. Again, almost always of cases of tracheoesophageal fistula is associated with esophageal atresia. Again, what is the definition of fistula? There's an abnormal communication between two structures. In this case, between trachea and esophagus. Okay? Almost always is associated with esophageal atresia. And tracheoesophageal fistula, we did mention this last week, resulting from improper division of the foregut by the tracheoesophageal septum. So let's review it with a picture. So here, this is normal. So esophagus is a continuous, okay, tube. So here, esophagus, and this will continue to become the stomach, okay? And this is the most common form of tracheoesophageal fistula with esophageal atresia. Clear po? Okay, that's the most common form of tracheoesophageal fistula with esophageal atresia. What is the most common form of tracheoesophageal fistula? So you have an esophageal atresia, okay, and on the distal part you have a fistula. That's the most common form. Questions pa? Anak, questions? Naintindihan po yung tracheoesophageal fistula with esophageal atresia. So, Doc, what will be the definitive treatment here? Of course, surgical intervention. Surgical intervention is the appropriate treatment. So, these are pictures of tracheoesophageal fistula with esophageal atresia. There will be excessive accumulation of saliva or mucus in the nose and mouth. There could be episodes of gagging and cyanosis after swallowing milk. There could be abdominal distension after crying, and there could be reflux of gastric contents into the lungs, causing pneumonitis. Again, let's go back to that picture for you to fully understand the clinical presentation. So there could be reflux of gastric contents to the trachea, and then it goes to the lung. So here, there could be abdominal distension after crying. Respiratory system, yung air pupunta sa stomach. So there could be abdominal distension. Naintindihan po? Siyempre, yung bata, gutom yan. Eh, padedi ka ng padedi ng milk. Eh, kaso hindi naman napupunta sa stomach niya yung milk, di ba? So, iyak nang iiyak yan. So, you will notice, pag umiiyak yung bata, bakit parang nag-distend yung abdomen niya? So, there could be abdominal distension after crying. Are we clear? Questions po, section B? Naintindihan po? Uy, sumagot naman kayo mga anak.
Yes po.
Yes po, Doc.
Okay. Parang nakikita ko lang sa picture si Dr. Belaro at si Dr. Stephen. Yung iba, tatago sa akin. Siguro may mga eye bags to mga to ay magpakita sa akin. Pakita naman kayo, virtual na nga lang tayo nagkikita. Baka next SEM, di ba? Hopefully mag face-to-face na tayo. Hindi ko kayo makilala. Sino nga ba to? Sa picture ko lang nakikita. Di ba? Yan. Di ba? Baka magkagulutan tayo sa January. Sino ka nga? O di ba? O. Tama yun, nakasalubong nyo na pala ako. Hindi nyo ako kilala. O di ba? Sino ka ba itong doktor na mataray na to? O di ba yun? Di ba? Yan. So, nasa probinsya ba kayo lahat, mga anak? So, wait for announcements, ha? Baka bigla tayong magulat. Pero January, bigla na lang tayong, di ba? Be ready, ha? Okay. Excited na ba kayo kung face-to-face?
Yes po.
Ano ba? Kayong face-to-face, ayaw nyo na. Dati request kayo ng request ng face-to-face. Hindi ko talaga kayo maintindihan, mga anak. Ano ba talaga gusto natin lahat? Di ba? O, clear na yung esophagus. Esophagus pa lang tayo, ha? Diyos ko pa. Ang dami pa natin lalakbayin. Esophagus pa lang, mga anak. Okay? So, let's go now to, again, these are examples of tracheoesophageal fistula. Okay? And this is the most common form. That will be discussed in details when you go to your pediatrics. Next year, kasi second year, meron na kayong pediatrics. O baka makalimutan nyo yan. Nasabihin, oy, ano tinuro sa inyo ni Dr. Bibar? What will be the presentations of esophageal atresia and tracheoesophageal fistula? Okay? So, remember this part. Kahit ito lang, kasi yan ang most common form. Majority of cases. Okay? So, let's go now to stomach. It initially starts as a fusiform dilatation, also coming from foregut. So, next column, stomach na tayo. Okay? Foregut. Okay? So, the developing stomach, primitive stomach, has two parts, dorsal part and ventral part. And the dorsal part will give rise to formation of your greater curvature, while the ventral part will become your lesser curvature. Take note of that, ha? Baka malito po kayo, ha? Dorsal, greater, ventral, lesser. Okay? So, this is ventral. I want you to imagine that sa likod is dorsal. So, it will rotate 90 degrees clockwise. Again, this is the ventral part, which will give rise to the formation of lesser curvature after rotation. And this is the dorsal part that will give rise to the greater curvature after rotation. Okay? I'm going to insert videos kasi this is very visual, okay? There's a very good video sa YouTube. Ako na lang mag-insert sa link mamaya. Okay? Nakalimutan ko po i-link. Okay? So this is again a picture showing you the rotation. So after rotation, what I want you to remember, so the ventral part after rotation will form the lesser curvature, while the dorsal part after rotation will become the greater curvature. Okay? What congenital anomaly to associate? Okay. Hypertrophic pyloric stenosis. Hypertrophic pyloric stenosis. Follow the name. You already know the meaning of stenosis. Stenosis means narrowing. Okay? There's narrowing at what part of the stomach? Pylorus. Okay? And as a result, okay, the etiology is there is hypertrophy of the muscularis external layer. So again, very easy to remember. Follow the name. There is hypertrophy of the pyloric region leading to narrowing. And of course, what will happen if you have a narrowed pyloric region? This will result to obstruction in the passage of food. So this part, for you to fully understand that, this part of the stomach is the pylorus. And stomach will continue to become, it will continue to be connected to the small intestine, particularly duodenum. So what do you think will happen if there is hypertrophy of the pyloric region? So there will be obstruction in the passage of food. Okay, and how to suspect if a baby is born with hypertrophic pyloric stenosis? There is a projectile vomiting immediately after feeding. Projectile vomiting. And when you do physical examination, a small palpable mass seen, palpated at the right costal margin. So the congenital anomaly to remember is hypertrophic pyloric stenosis. So projectile vomiting. So here, again, this is the pyloric region. You have a narrowed pyloric region as a result of hypertrophy of the muscle layer. So what will be the presentation? Projectile vomiting immediately after feeding. Questions pa? Are we clear on the development of the stomach and the congenital anomaly associated with it?
Yes po.
Okay, very good. So let's go now to duodenum. So again, we've mentioned that duodenum is a derivative coming from foregut and midgut. So here, upper part of duodenum, foregut. Lower part of duodenum, midgut. Okay? Again, duodenum anatomically is divisible into four portions. First, second, third, and fourth. If you're asked specifically which part of duodenum is both foregut and midgut, the answer will be the second part. Maliwanag po tayo dyan, ha? Second part is both foregut and midgut. So again, this is the developing duodenum. This is the developing stomach. After stomach will be the duodenum. Okay? So here, the congenital anomaly associated with duodenum is same with esophagus. You could have stenosis and atresia. Stenosis, there is incomplete recanalization. Okay? So there's narrowing. Narrowed lumen. Okay? Pag sinabing atresia, either it ends as a blind pouch, blind tube, or no lumen. Walang lumen. There's complete obstruction. Pag stenosis, there's a narrowed lumen. Stenosis usually involving the third and fourth portions of the duodenum, while atresia usually involving the second and the third portions of the duodenum. And when you suspect duodenal atresia, usually what is being requested is to do a plain x-ray of the abdomen. Okay, ile-lecture sa nyo yan sa radiology. And the findings will be, we call it as the double bubble sign. Remember that the double bubble sign is the clinical, okay, is the findings in X-ray associated with the congenital anomaly duodenal atresia. Double bubble sign. So here is the double bubble sign. Explain sa nyo yan sa radiology. And it's a finding, again, associated with the congenital anomaly duodenal atresia. Okay? Let's go now to the liver. Okay. From the foregut, dalawang diverticulum ang mag-emerge. Okay, you have your respiratory diverticulum and the other one is your hepatic diverticulum. Okay, balik ko lang yung picture parang mas makita nyo. So here, this part. So again here, you have your hepatic diverticulum. As the name implies, the hepatic diverticulum will give rise to parts of the liver and the biliary apparatus. Hepatic means liver. Okay. So here, again, is your hepatic diverticulum. And the hepatic diverticulum will give rise to the liver and the biliary apparatus. Okay. Hindi na tayo magpapakadetalye, ha? The hepatic diverticulum will have two parts. Cranial part will form the liver, while the caudal part will form the gallbladder and the cystic duct. Take note. Again, the cranial part of the hepatic diverticulum will form the liver, and the caudal part will form the gallbladder and the cystic duct. So foregut derivative, the liver together with the biliary apparatus. So here is your biliary system. Let's review. This will be discussed in details when you go to your anatomy lecture. Okay? So you have the liver together with the biliary system. The biliary system is the system of ducts. Okay? So you have your right and left hepatic duct joining together to form the common hepatic. So this is common hepatic. Okay. The cystic duct is from the gallbladder. The cystic duct and the common hepatic will form the common bile duct po yan. Mali to ng label. Common bile duct. Okay. And the common bile duct will open into the duodenum. What part of the duodenum? Second part. Again, ulitin natin ha. So you have your right and left hepatic ducts joining together to form the common hepatic. The common hepatic together with cystic will form what structure? Common bile duct. And the common bile duct will open into the second part of the duodenum. Okay? The common bile duct together with the main pancreatic duct will unite together to open into the second part of the duodenum. Clear po ba mga anak? Clear po?
Yes po.
Yes
Okay.
po.
All these structures, again, take note, are derivatives coming from foregut. Okay? So these are examples of common congenital anomalies associated with formation of the biliary system. And we call it as biliary atresia. Okay, type 1. So, atresia of the common bile duct. Okay, label muna natin to para hindi kayo malito ha. Ulitin ko. So, this is your right and left hepatic ducts The right and left hepatic ducts will unite what structure? Common hepatic. So this is common hepatic. Okay. Common hepatic together with your, what is this? Cystic duct will form your common bile duct. Clear po tayo mga anak? Are we clear? Clear po?
Yes po, Doc.
Okay.
Yes po.
So pag type 1, anong nawawala? Common bile duct. Okay? Type 2A, anong nawawala? That's your common hepatic duct. Okay? Type 2B, okay, what is missing? Common bile duct, cystic duct, and common hepatic duct. And pag type 3, lahat wala na. Right and left hepatic ducts, common hepatic duct, cystic duct, and the common bile duct. Okay po, so these are the types of biliary attrition. So what will be the clinical presentation of a baby born with biliary atresia? Okay. When you go to your pediatrics, parang di ba, pag sinabing, are you familiar with this term? Jaundice? Sino po mga nurse dito? Meron po ba mga nurse dito? Nursing graduate?
Present po, Doc.
Okay. Are you familiar with this term, anak?
Yes po.
Okay. So what do you notice if you, pag sinasabing baby, parang may jaundice yung baby, what do you notice?
Ano po, yellowish color po.
Okay. Yellowish discoloration of the skin, etc., etc. Pero may tinatawag na physiologic jaundice at pathologic jaundice, di ba, anak? Physiologic within the first few days. Pag pathologic, parang 1 week na, ba't ganun ang kulay ng bata? Okay, so you have to rule out the possibility that the baby might be born with this congenital anomaly. Okay po, that will be discussed again when you go to your pathology and pediatrics. Remember, our main concern pag first year is structural defects. Clear po tayo? So pag sinabing biliary atresia, ulit, pag type 1, what is missing?
Common bile duct.
Common bile duct. Pag type 2A, common hepatic duct. Okay? Pag type 2B, so you have your common bile duct, common hepatic duct, and cystic duct. And pag type 3, lahat na. Okay, clear? Okay. Let's go now to the pancreas. Okay. Also, coming from the foregut, you have the formation of a dorsal and ventral pancreatic bud. Okay. So here is your hepatic diverticulum that will give rise to the formation of liver and the biliary apparatus. And this one coming from the foregut is also your dorsal and ventral pancreatic buds. Okay, and this will give rise to the formation of the pancreas. The dorsal pancreatic bud will appear first than the ventral. So look at the picture, what will happen? So you have your dorsal and ventral, okay? And the ventral will rotate. Ang iikot si ventral. So look here, ventral will rotate to fuse with dorsal. And we have now the formation of the pancreas. Clear po? Na-imagine po? Okay. So here, I've got another picture. This is the duodenum here. This is your dorsal. This is your ventral pancreatic bud. And the dorsal again. Okay. the ventral will rotate to fuse with dorsal to form the pancreas. Okay. Ang gusto ko lang maalala nyo dito, I think this was mentioned already during development of endocrine system. The ventral pancreatic bud will form what parts of the pancreas? You have the head, including the uncinate process, while the dorsal pancreatic bud will give rise to the body, the tail, and part of the head. Ulitin ko yan ha. Pag sinabi sa inyong head of the pancreas, the head of the pancreas is a derivative coming from both dorsal and ventral pancreatic buds. But majority of the head of the pancreas will be coming from the ventral pancreatic bud. Clear po tayo mga anak? Okay. Take note of this part kasi this is commonly being asked. What are derivatives? What parts of the pancreas will come from the ventral pancreatic bud? What part of the pancreas will come from the dorsal pancreatic bud? What is the congenital anomaly associated with the development of the pancreas? We call it as annular pancreas. Annular, it means it forms a ring encircling the pancreas. And what is the etiology? A growth of a bifid ventral pancreatic bud. So look here. So you have a bifid ventral pancreatic bud. One rotates anteriorly, the other one rotates posteriorly. So after fusion with dorsal, what will happen? It will encircle the duodenum. Okay? So it forms a ring. It forms a pancreatic ring encircling the duodenum. So this will mimic, okay, obstruction, whether partial or complete obstruction of the duodenum. So parang ang effect niya, it's either a duodenal atresia or duodenal stenosis. Kasi in-circle niya yung duodenum. Clear po tayo? So that's your annular pancreas. Okay. So we're done with foregut derivatives and congenital anomalies. Let's go now to midgut. Again, it is supplied by the supramesenteric artery and branches of supramesenteric artery. The midgut, we have the formation of intestinal loops which has two parts, masno, cranial, and caudal. Ang sabi natin kanina, distal part of the duodenum up to the right side of the transverse colon, classified as midgut derivatives. So from the cranial part, you have your duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Jejunum ha, baka may magsabi sa akin dyan ng jejunum ha, mga jejemons dyan ha. Naku ha, hindi jejunum yan ha, jejunum. Ulit, mga anak, pakisabi nga. Doktora Kayabyab, ano mong?
Jejunum.
Yan. Anong jejunum? Jejunum. Okay po? Clear? Caudal part. You have the lower ileum, the cecum appendix, and the right side of the transverse colon. Clear? Okay. Okay, must know. Anong ibig sabihin ng herniation? Oh, matatapos na tayo, magpapanas na tayo, dapat alam niyo na ibig sabihin ng herniation. Pag sinabi niyo, nag-herniate yung isang structure, sabi ni Dr. Bibar, nag-herniate daw. Ano ka ibig sabihin ng herniation? Pag nadinig niyo yung herniation, what does it mean? So it's very important for you to visualize that. When you say nag-herniate, di ba? From its original location, position, lumabas siya. Diba? Okay. So when you say physiologic herniation, these primary intestinal roots will herniate towards the umbilicus. Clear po? Okay. And when it re-enters, remember, 6 weeks of human development, it will herniate, and 10 to 12 weeks, it will re-enter. Okay? Yes. Parang, Dr. Casot, yes, tama naman yun. Herniation, nag-protrude, lumabas. Okay pa? So I want you to imagine that. So let's have a picture for you to visualize that. So here, this is the mid-gut loop. Anong sabi natin sa mid-gut loop? You have two parts. You have your cranial part and you have the caudal part. Nakuha? Ulit, ano nga derivatives ng cranial part? Duodenum, jejunum, and the upper part of ilium. Anong derivatives ng caudal part ng mid-gut loop? So you have the lower ilium, ascending colon, cecum, appendix, and the right side of the transverse colon. Okay. I want you to imagine that. Pag sinabing, when you say there is physiologic herniation, this part of the loop, okay, this part of the mid-gut loop will herniate towards the umbilicus. What will be the possible explanation? You have the sudden growth of the liver na itulak lang siya palabas. Sandali. Kasi you have the sudden growth of the liver. But it should re-enter the abdomen. Kailan nga nangyayari yung physiologic herniation? What week? What week?
6th week.
And the re-entry will happen during what week? Okay, very good. We want you to remember that, okay? Because it will be asked in your practical examinations. So here, okay? This is just the rotation of the mid-gut loop, okay? Again, hindi ko na di-discuss ng detalye yan, okay? I'm going to show a video lang. Hindi naman ako magtatanong ng rotation, baka mahilo-hilo tayong lahat, ano? But what I want you to remember, after rotation, you should know the normal location and the normal placements. So this is normal. Diba? This is normal. Okay? After rotation, the cecum, the appendix should be at the right side lower part. Tama? And the transverse colon should be on the upper part. Tama? And the ascending colon should be on the right side. That's the normal placement. Normal rotation. So what are possible congenital anomalies here? Okay. Umbilical hernia. Ano? Ano ibig sabihin ng umbilical hernia? So, pansinin nyo ha. Sino ba dito may mga pamangkin na? Okay? Mga inaalagaan kayong baby. Bakit napapansin nyo? Pag umiyak yung baby, parang merong lumolobo sa umbilicus. Umbilicus, sa Tagalog, anong pangalan? Anong siya sa Tagalog?
Pusod po.
Pusod. What's the other name for umbilicus? Yung social na term. Yung social na term na, di ba?
Navel po.
Navel. Very good. Okay. So, again, umbilical hernia, which means you have a small opening. And you're going to see that whenever the baby cries, di ba? Umiiyak siya, parang mayroong lumalabas na maliit na bukol sa pusod ng bata. Umbilical hernia. But if the hole is massive, Okay? We call it as omphalocele. So, ano nangyari dyan? Sabi ko nga sa inyo, di ba, there's physiologic herniation. Pag hindi na yan bumalik, there's failure of re-entry into the abdomen. You're going to have omphalocele. Ano kaya laman yan? Mga anak, huwag niyo sabihin sa akin brain, ha? Sasakalin ko kayo, ha? Hindi yan brain. Ano kaya laman yan? So, sir, parang brain, tignan mo, may mga kulubot-kulubot. Hindi yan brain. So, ano ba yung mga part ng midgut loop? Diba? So, those are the most likely contents. But in severe cases, sumama yung liver. Okay, this is omphalocele. And you will notice that the herniated structures are still covered with a membranous sac. Parang meron siyang glistening covering. That's omphalocele. The reason behind why, I want you to remember that if there's a covering, it's covered with a membrane, that's most likely omphalocele. But if there's no covering, okay, we call it as gastroschisis. So what's the two main differences? Ulitin ko. Pag omphalocele, ang herniated structures ay nasa midline. Take note of this. This is very important. At the midline, at the umbilicus area, umbilical area, and it is covered with the membrane. But if it is a gastroschisis, it's on the lateral. There's a defect, okay? Incomplete closure of the lateral folds. No protective covering. No protective sac. No protective covering. Okay, clear? So, madi-differentiate na si omphalocele and gastroschisis. Section B.
Yes.
Pag midline, ano yun? Omphalocele, gastroschisis. If the defect, omphalocele. If it is covered with a protective membrane, that's omphalocele. If it is gastroschisis, okay, it's on the lateral. This is umbilicus, remember, here. So on the sides. The defect is because of incomplete closure of the lateral folds. The etiology in omphalocele is there is failure of re-entry into the abdomen. Okay? This is gastroschisis. It's on the lateral. This is umbilicus. So it's on the lateral. Okay, let's go now to jejunum and ileum. Okay, this after rotation, this will be the placements. Okay, the jejunum should be on the taas. Okay, and the ileum should be here. The jejunum should be on the left upper quadrant, and the ileum should be on the right lower quadrant. So this should be the placements after the rotation. Okay, that's normal. Again, this will be the divisions of the large intestine. Okay, nasaan ang division natin dito? Hanggang saan ang midgut? So, take note here. From cecum, appendix, ascending colon, and the right side of the transverse colon classified as midgut derivatives. Okay. And from the left side of the transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid, rectum, and the upper part of anal canal is hindgut derivative. Clear po tayo, ha? Okay. The lower part of the anal canal, we did mention, it's a derivative coming from ectoderm germ layer. So what are some of the defects, congenital defects? Failure of rotation. Okay. So what do you notice here? This is one. What do you notice? Parang mali yung rotation niya, di ba? Di ba? Yung small intestine nandun sa right side, tapos yung cecum appendix, ascending colon, ay nasa gitna. Mali yan. Tama. Clear po? Okay. Here, take note of this term, volvulus. Whenever you encounter the term volvulus, it means twisting. Sa pag-ikot ng intestines, nagkabuhol-buhol. Okay? And what will happen if you have twisting? That could result to obstruction, of course. Volvulus. Okay, we're going to discuss two common cases. Okay, these are the two common congenital defects that you're going to encounter in the future as a result of abnormal development of digestive system. Okay, case number one. We have a 2-year-old boy brought to the emergency room with fever, vomiting, and abdominal pain. The mother told the attending physician that these symptoms began 12 hours ago and have progressively worsened. She also noticed that his stool and diaper were colored with bright red clot. Okay, take note. Laboratory results show that hematocrit and hemoglobin were in low end of normal. Abdominal radiology showed a bowel obstruction that appears related to the abnormal intestinal outpacketing connected to the anterior abdominal wall. Okay. 2 years old. The clinical presentations are typical of acute appendicitis. Presentations of acute appendicitis. Pain, vomiting, fever, okay? But what will differentiate it from acute appendicitis is the presence of blood in stool. Importante yun mga anak ha. Presentations of acute appendicitis in children with presence of blood in stool, you think of this congenital anomaly. And what is this congenital anomaly? We call it as Meckel's diverticulum. Okay? Tignan nyo yung radiology. Sabi niya, there's an outpacketing, outpouching. Di ba sabi natin, pag outpouching, it's a diverticulum. Okay? So you think of this congenital anomaly. Meckel's diverticulum or ileal diverticulum because commonly ASA, usually affecting what segment of the intestine? Ileum. That's why you call it as ileal diverticulum. Okay, there's persistence of remnant of vitelline duct. Vitelline duct is called as your yolk sac. Outpouching, remnant of vitelline duct, forming an outpouching, commonly affecting what segment? It's ileum. So this is Meckel's diverticulum, an outpouching. And this is usually connected to the anterior abdominal wall. Okay? Rule of 2. 2 feet from the ileocecal junction, 2% of population, and about 2 inches in length. And samahan nyo pa, okay, it's usually seen before 2 years of age. Kaya nga, rule of 2. Ulit, ano yung rule of 2? 2 feet from the ileocecal junction, 2% of population, about 2 inches in length, and seen before 2 years of age. Anong sabi natin kanina? The presentations of acute appendicitis, but what will differentiate it from acute appendicitis is the presence of blood in stool. Saan galing yung bleeding? Bleeding is associated with ulceration of ectopic cells? Saan galing yung ectopic cells, ectopic gastric, or pancreatic cells? Nakuha po. Ulitin natin. What is the typical presentation? Presentations of appendicitis. But what will differentiate it from appendicitis? The presence of blood and stool. Saan galing yung bleeding? Ectopic cells. Saan galing yung ectopic cells? Ectopic gastric or pancreatic cells. Clear po? So, balik natin yung case ha. Balik ko po yung case. The presentations are presentations of appendicitis. There is blood in stool. When you have a case of appendicitis, you're going to ask for CBC, blood examination, complete blood count. So, mapapansin nyo, parang yung hematocrit niya at hemoglobin niya ay pababa than usual. And this is the reason behind that. Kasi nagbi-bleed siya eh. Meron siyang bleeding. Kaya bababa ang hematocrit, bababa ang hemoglobin count. So, you suspect this case. 2 years old. Clear pa? Are we clear, section B?
Yes.
Okay. Meckel's diverticulum. So here, this is the diverticulum, an outpouch diverticulum. Affecting what segment again? The answer is ileum. Let's go now to hindgut. Last part, hindgut. What is the rule? The hindgut is supplied by what blood vessel? IMA, inferior mesenteric artery. And the hindgut derivatives from the left side of the transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, rectum, and to this upper part or superior part of the anal canal. Okay? Again, from endoderm. But the lower part of the anal canal here, coming from ectoderm. Kaya kulay blue siya, di ba? Proctodium, ectoderm. And when you go to your anatomy, it will be mentioned in anatomy. The junction between the upper part and the lower parts of the anal canal, we call it as the pectinate line. The separation between hindgut, endoderm, and proctodium, ectoderm. So this is upper, this is lower. Clear? So in histology, it will be mentioned, pag hindgut, large intestine, the lining epithelium is simple columnar. Pero pag proctodium, lower part, it becomes stratified squamous, non-keratinized epithelium. Are we clear up to this part? Clear po, section B? Section B.
Yes po, Doc.
Yes,
Okay. For you to fully understand the congenital anomalies, we're going to mention this term, cloaca. Cloaca. Parang iniisip nyo sa ibon yun ah. Hindi ah, meron din cloaca initially. What is cloaca? So I want you to visualize that. So this is your primitive gut. Foregut, midgut, and hindgut will terminate at the cloaca. And you're developing genitourinary, reproductive, and urinary system here also opens into cloaca. So which means initially parts of digestive and the parts of the developing reproductive and urinary systems, you have a common terminal passageway. And what is that? Cloaca. Okay. And then you have the development of a septum. What is a septum? Urorectal septum. This will be seen in your laboratory. You're going to see that in the laboratory. Okay. Urorectal septum. And what is the significance of that? This is to separate the parts of digestive from parts of urinary, urogenital. Kaya nga urorectal. Kailangan magkaroon ng septum to separate. Okay? Parts of urogenital from parts of digestive. So here, so initially you have a common opening. So with the development of urorectal septum, okay, there will be separation from parts of openings for your urinary, urogenital, and parts of digestive. Clear po tayo? Are we clear? Okay. So dito kayo mag-start, ha? So what are common congenital anomalies to remember? Imperforate anus. Okay, normally, the anal membrane should rupture. But in case there's abnormal development of the urorectal septum, ano nangyari? So here, pag sinabing imperforate anus, ibig sabihin nun, parang walang anal opening. Naintindihan po? Okay. So, importante po ito, when you go to your clerkship, rotation sa pediatrics, if you're asked to do a complete physical examination of the newborn, ito ang minsan natin nakakaligtaan to check if there's an anal opening. Ay, masaya na kayo na umiyak yung bata, gumagalaw yung bata, umiyak, gumalaw, normal lang motor, normal lang, di ba? Pero hindi nyo na-check. Naku, mamaya wala palang anal opening. So how to check that? You take temperature. Usually, ewan ko kung ginagawa pa rin, pero nung panahon ko, kasi ngayon pag temperature, iscan na lang, di ba? Para ka na lang binabaril, Wow. Nung panahon namin, panahon ng mga tito at tita nyo, huwag naman lolo at lola, tito at tito muna. Okay? To check for the temperature of newborns, we usually do it rectally. At the same time, check namin kung may rectal opening. Do rectal temperature. Tama. O mamaya, nako. What will be the presentation? Tingnan nyo kung walang opening yan, di ba? O, pinauwi nyo yung bata. Naku, normal. Pinauwi nyo yung bata. Di ba? O, 3 to 4 days after, babalik sa inyo yung nanay. Meron ng presentation yung bata. Diba? This could result to obstruction. Saan lalabas? Anong tawag sa first stool? First pupo ng bata? Anybody here who knows that term?
Meconium.
Very good, Dr. Binal. That's meconium. Saan lalabas yung meconium kung walang butas? And that could lead to obstruction. Right? Imperforate anus. So here, walang opening. Kuha po, you check for that. Okay? So, ulit, imperforate anus, no anal opening, no meconium passage. Clear tayo? Okay. Rectal fistula. Ano naman nangyari? Wala ring with or without anal opening. But, merong meconium passage. Ay, naku, masaya na ako, yung anak ko, pupupo na. Pero hindi nyo napansin, yung pupo ng bata, saan lumabas? Sa babae, sa vagina, sa lalaki, sa urethra. You have rectal fistula. What is fistula? There's abnormal communication between two structures. Recto-vaginal, rectum and vagina sa babae. Recto-urethral, rectum and urethra. Clear po? So you have passage of meconium, but the meconium coming from abnormal openings. Lumabas sa vagina, abnormal yun ha. Dapat sa rectum, sa anus lalabas. Lumabas sa urethra sa lalaki. So what is that congenital anomaly? Rectal fistula. In females, we call it as rectovaginal. In males, we call it as rectourethral. Naintindihan po? Okay, very good. This is rectal fistula. Improper development of the urorectal septum. Marami pong forms yan ha. Pwedeng rectobladder fistula, pwedeng rectourethral, pwedeng rectovaginal. Okay, ulitin ko ha. With or without anal opening. But the meconium, you will notice, will pass out. Okay? Last case. After his birth, a newborn was placed in the hospital's nursery room. Within 24 hours, the newborn developed abdominal distension and his vomitus contained bile. It was also noted that he had failed to pass meconium during this time. Physical examination of the newborn at birth revealed normal findings. Normal findings, ibig sabihin nun, if the newborn, okay, at physical examination, there is a normal finding, it means meron siyang anal opening. It is understood that here, you have anal opening, but without passage of meconium. Nakuha po? Ulit tayo para hindi kayo malito. Si imperforate anus, may anal opening? Sagot po. Wala. May passage sa meconium?
Na.
Wala po. Si rectal fistula, may passage sa meconium? Meron po. May anal opening?
Wala po.
Oh, majority wala. Okay. This case, may anal opening but without passage of meconium. And what is this congenital anomaly? We call it as Hirschsprung's disease, otherwise known as congenital megacolon. Okay. Wala pa kayong lecture ng micro, right? Mamaya pa lang, ano? Okay. I want you to remember these two plexuses. This will be mentioned in details in your lecture. We call it as ano ba? Spelling ko, sorry po. Myenteric. And the other one is Meissner's. Okay. Myenteric is responsible for movement, peristalsis, while Meissner's is responsible for the secretory activity of GIT. So lahat ng digestive tract normally should be provided with myenteric or Auerbach's plexus, and this is responsible for movement, and Meissner's plexus, which is responsible for the secretory activity of GIT. Do you follow, mga anak? Okay. Myenteric is located at the tunica muscularis layer, while Meissner's is located at the submucosa. Okay, ulitin ko. Myenteric, Auerbach's plexus. Anong layer siya makikita? Tunica muscularis. What is the function? For movement, peristalsis. Meissner's plexus. Saan makikita? What layer? Submucosa. And this is responsible for the secretory activity. What is the etiology? Failure of neural crest cell migration. Neural crest cell migration. Neural crest will give rise to your myenteric and Meissner's plexuses, and usually affecting what portions? Rectum and sigmoid colon. And what will be the presentation? There will be obstruction. Clear so far? Okay, let's have a picture again. So here, There's failure of migration of neural crest cells, the myenteric or Auerbach's plexus and Meissner's plexus, leading to abnormal innervations of the bowel. And this could cause intestinal obstruction. Okay, very, very important to remember. There's a part which is dilated, swollen, and there's a part which is shrunken or constricted. Okay, I want you to imagine the scenario. No meconium passage, but with anal opening. Clear po? Okay, tatanungin ko sa inyo ngayon. This is normal. Normal rectum, normal colon. And this is abnormal. Okay, here, which one is normal? The dilated part or the constricted part? Tatanungin ko sa inyo yan, ha? Okay. Which one is normal? Dilated or constricted? Which one is abnormal? Dilated or constricted? Pag sinabi nating abnormal, wala siyang myenteric or Auerbach's plexus. So I want you to answer that. Which one is normal? Dilated or constricted? Which one is abnormal? Dilated or constricted? Section B, what's your answer? Section B. Wala na, tinulugan na ako ng section B. Anak, ano nangyari? Ano pong sagot nyo?
Dilated po, normal.
Sabi ni Dr. Reyes, okay, dilated is normal, constricted is abnormal. Do you agree, section B? Okay, Dr. Chan? Okay, again. So let's try to analyze that part. Okay. Yes, tama si Dr. Chan. Dilated is normal. Constricted is abnormal. So which means this part of GIT, wala kang myenteric plexus, wala kang Meissner's plexus. Hindi ito gumagalaw. Abnormal siya. So what will happen? So this part, the normal part, will dilate. Bakit siya magdadilate? Kasi naiipon sa kanya yung meconium. Nakuha po. Ulitin ko ha. So dilated is normal. Constricted is abnormal. Do you follow section B? Clear po? Pag sinabi nating abnormal, walang myenteric, walang Meissner's plexuses. So again, how to suspect? You have a newborn. Okay? Normal physical findings, which means in this case, you have an anal opening. But, okay, no passage of meconium. So you think of this congenital anomaly, Hirschsprung's disease. Okay? When you do physical examination, examine mo yan eh. May anal opening naman siya. And you stimulate this part. And what will you notice? Pag na-stimulate mo yan, lalabas yung meconium. And very typical for a case of Hirschsprung's disease or congenital megacolon. Questions po? On this case? Questions? Naintindihan? Okay, again. So, let's try to differentiate the three congenital anomalies for the hindgut. Imperforate anus, no anal opening, but no meconium passage also. Okay, rectal fistula, no anal opening, but again, in some cases may anal opening to but majority of cases, no opening. Okay, but merong meconium passage. Saan lumabas yung meconium? Sa rectal fistula? Depende kung saan ang connection niya. Kung recto-vaginal, vagina. Kung recto-urethral, urethra. Lumabas yung meconium. And congenital megacolon, no, with anal opening, but no meconium passage. Of course, the surgical intervention, the treatment here is surgical intervention. Alam mo anak, tiisin mo yan, di ba? Siguro naman at your age, wala naman sa inyo merong rectal fistula. Tinitiis nyo yan. Wala naman siguro, di ba? Eh, pag baby, siyempre, panay fluid lang yung pinakain yan. Eh, paano pag kumain na yung solid? Paano lalabas sa urethra yan, di ba? Naintindihan po, nagjo-joke lang ako mga anak ha, mga kusul. Si Doc Nabibar naman. Okay. Questions po? Dr. Magalong, okay. Dr. Kadukoy, okay po. Okay, very good. Questions so far? So I want you to work on this one. Pag nag-review kayo, ganito review nyo. Okay? Focus on the structural defects and the presentation. Okay pa? So try to work on this one. Okay? Kung meron kayong questions, makikita naman tayo sa laboratory. So try nyo isagutan habang naalala nyo pa yung lecture. So pag may question kayo mamaya sa laboratory, so we're going to answer your questions. Sir po? Oh, we still have enough time. Meron pa tayong 9 minutes. Meron po kayong question, mga anak? Saan po kayo nalilito? Saan po kayo nalilitong parte? Saan po kayo nalilitong mga parte, mga anak?